Hey, Soul Survivor. So, what does me being 6'1" have to do with explaining narcissism? So, I am 6'1". I am the second child, first girl, two younger sisters, four of us total. So, my brother, of course, he's the tallest, same genetics, and I'm the tallest. And then my sister is just a little bit shorter, and the youngest one is quite a bit shorter. So, what explains this? Part of it is my genetics, the other part is the nutritional value that I had growing up. So, no matter what you feed me now, I'm not going to get taller. I'm not going to grow anymore. And the reason I bring up the heights of my sisters is kind of interesting. We had the same exact genetics, different children, but you know what I mean? The same parents. And why is it the difference in height? And I wonder looking back, as a first time mom, I was really into, I wanted to do cloth diapers. I wanted to you make your own baby food that you get really excited about doing everything perfect. So since I was the first girl born, was my mom still in that stage of ultimate health? Bananas instead of gummy bears or something. So you wonder with financial stress with the extra children, was it easier? Did we start getting more macaroni and cheese, hot dogs, potato chips, things like that? I don't know the answer to that, but there's something to what makes us grow and what doesn't. So the narcissist, in their brain, they were starved. They didn't have as much emotional nutrients that they needed. So their growth was stunted. So as a child, you can, depending on when it comes in, the nutrients, that the child will flourish to their utmost potential. So my youngest sister, who's the shortest, possibly if she had more nutrients, I'm not bashing my mom. I don't know the true story behind this, but it makes you wonder what caused that. So if we had given her the same diet that I had, would she also be 6'1"? She's like 5'7", 5'8". The other one's like 5'11". But the narcissist, with their emotional stunted growth, when can they grow? How will they grow? So if we gave my sister maybe a higher nutrient content at age 12, was she still right before her growth spurt? Or if she was 17, did she benefit from any extra nutrients? There comes a time where there's a cutoff for growth. And with the mind, though, mind has neuroplasticity, which means it can kind of adapt and change. So parts of our brain can heal, other parts can't. So with the growth, our narcissist has parts of their brain that are damaged. And will it grow? There's some plasticity to it, but even with you guys going through the CPTSD that you've gone through, it's extremely painful to rewire your brain. There is hope for it, but how much will the narcissist grow? Because of their emotional starvation in the past, you come to a point where the growth stops or is minimal. So no matter how much I eat, how many vitamins I take, I'm pretty much maxed out. Who knows? Maybe I'll grow an extra half inch. Who knows? I grew 3 inches when I was 21, which is very odd for a girl. But when the narcissist finds their victims, sometimes they're purposely hunting for a certain outcome, whether it's finances, popularity, or other times it just feels good to be around the person and they enjoy the time with the person. They put on that mask, they want to be liked. And over time, that mask falls, or they feel entitled to your time. The hardest part about narcissism, when you have the extreme ones who are violent, threatening, overbearing, but there are some that it's kind of like slick and sly to where you don't really see it coming and they tear you down, the future faking. But the hardest part is not knowing what reality is. And they also like to play pranks. They also like to destroy your life. It gives them a sense of power. It invokes emotional response from you, which is what they want. They don't care if it's good or bad. If you think about advertising where any advertising is good, whether it's good or bad. You can say bad things about the company, at least people know the company's out there. So the narcissist is kind of like that too. I just want the attention. And with their ability to change, it's minimal, partially because they don't want to put the work into it. Just like if you want to bulk up with some muscles, you have to put the work in. And the amount of work you put in will give you results. Now, as that analogy, there's some limitations to who we are, what we're capable of. So you might work out and bulk up an extra 6 inches as opposed to me only doing 2 inches. There are different amounts of damage that have been done to the narcissist, and some of them come to a realization later on in life that this is not working. They don't always necessarily want to be a jerk, but it's what works for them. So they will try until something doesn't work or their needs are more immediate. A lot of us want things now. We're in this now society. We have to have this now. We want a better body. We're going to go have surgery. We want this. We're going to go do that, to where we're not willing to put in the work. We're hoping for instant results. And the hardest, well, it's all hard, hardest. Everything is hard with a narcissist. And I'm going to do a video next on collateral damage. If you want to know more about that, type in collateral damage and that video will pop up. But there's a lot of collateral damage. And can they grow? Can they change? They have to rewire that brain. And it comes to a point where, did they miss out on that growth time? Did they miss out on the growth time? And as life goes on, we have more and more stressors put on us, whether it's financial or societal. And under times of stress is when the narcissist kind of falls apart. They are looking for a parent. And this is important. They are looking for a parent because they didn't become fulfilled. But this is the tricky part. We're meant to leave our parents. We can still love them, check in on them, but that's the cycle we're supposed to go through. Love and nurture, you grow up, you break free, you go through that teenage year where you throw your little fits and you are a little spoiled brat because you want this and that. You're testing the limits, you're more impulsive, and then you grow and you know what works, what doesn't work, and trial and error. You also have regrets, maybe a couple broken hearts from a couple dates that didn't go the way you had hoped, or the person turned out not liking you. But there's cycles that we go through in life. The narcissist is late to the game. But the growth is the part that's hard, because my analogy of me right now, if I want to grow, I can't. My sister can't. In middle school, maybe, but now it's a lot more difficult. And the prognosis is not as good. So some of them, I mean, there can be the self-reflection where you stop and think about what you say, stop and think about what you do. But the narcissist doesn't want to give that up. That's their comfort level. That's their security blanket. And they have an emotional state of anywhere from 2 to maybe 16 years old. They don't want to give up that comfort. So I really want you to think about, do we really want this person back? A lot of you are hoping for that Hoover or hoping to work things out. Now, I'm a religious person, spiritual, and I do believe in keeping a marriage together. However, when all the promises are broken, that's the contract you entered into. Faithfulness, and that's to protect you as well as the other person. With all the diseases that are out there, it's also meant to have a committed relationship to bring you closer, to strengthen the bond. and the bond keeps getting broken. You're at risk for different diseases, and the trust is gone. Some of you live in fear of being harmed, and narcissists can be quite evil. They can do the extreme, and that has physiological responses in your body, which is part of the collateral damage that I'd like you to see. So can a narcissist change? Within limits. Some of the limits are the emotional nutrients they're willing to rewire their brain with, the self-reflection, the work it takes to go through painful situations to look at what the other person feels. But they don't, this is the hard part, is they will never feel what we feel. They don't feel it. So they can't relate to it. If I told you I ate some fruit or vegetable when I went to Australia that was out in the wild, and I tried to tell you it was really good, it made my mouth water. It was so aromatic. It was so this, that. And if I don't use the right words, you're not going to understand it. You're going to form a picture in your mind. Oh, it must have been sweet. And it wasn't. So the narcissist is going to form their own form of interpretation of what our feelings are because it can't connect with it. So I could relate it to a different kind of Australian fruit that you've never tried. And you're like, maybe strawberry flavored? It's a disconnect. And the depth of the narcissist, it's interesting that trying to understand how they can have decade-long relationships and trying to understand, did they love me? And they do nice things. They're not always horrendous. Some of them are always horrendous, but the depth of their relationship, for one thing, is service-based or supply-based. But if you can think of like a nice waitress that you had, or somebody who served you at the gas station and you had a pleasant time during that transaction, that's about how deep the relationship with the narcissist goes, to where it's surface level. So you think about it, you go to that restaurant and that waitress isn't there. You might be a little bummed about it, but you're like, okay, well, I guess we'll just have another waitress and I'll see the other one later. It's kind of how they are so easy to move on in relationships because it's superficial. So did they care about you? Did they like you? Just like the waitress that you liked, they did a nice job. You liked them. You didn't really know them. That's the depth of their relationship. And that keeps things at a superficial level. And you're longing for that deep connection because in the beginning, it felt like that's what you had because they said everything you wanted to hear. That's that love bombing manipulation. So when they say that you fell in love with somebody who wasn't there, or you fell in love with your own self-reflection, was the narcissist there? It was a facade. Just like if you met a famous musician, you only know them from the performance. Is that who they truly are? It's almost like we'll never know. So when we're trying to figure out this rumination, what did I do wrong? And how can I change the situation? And all the rumination we go through, we're going through emotional torture. And if we're meant to be with someone, we should be able to say, hey, this is hurting my feelings, or hey, how do you feel about this? Or what would you like to do together? And have a building relationship. It starts to destroy us. And we become addicted to getting back to what we felt before. And we see it in that narcissist, we see it in that person, almost like they hold the key to that, but they're not going to give us that key. And that's when we need to take charge and start rebuilding. Narcissism causes so much damage, and it does cause an addiction. You get that trauma bond. A lot of people don't understand it. But as far as can they heal? For one thing, do they want to? And how much growth, how much neuroplasticity does that brain still have? There is some chance of rewiring the brain. Same with you, with the struggles that you're going through. You can rewire some of your brain. Get rid of that brain fog, start to focus better. There is a science to it. And that's the scary part about narcissism, the science behind them. Broken people hurt people. And the narcissist wants to stay broken. What do you want?